I'm going to throw it over to you guys now. If you have any questions for Damon and Iain in the cast, then please do put your hands up.
I think we've silenced them.
We're stunned.
Just why?
So
Can we leave?
Let's all take our trousers off, shall we?
Hello.
It's very liberating.
I am Australian.
Oh, yay, we love Australians.
Yeah. So a lot of sort of like British and American films have a lot of Australian stereotypes when they're set in Australia. What sort of stereotypes can I look forward to as an Australian in this film?
Well, you name them.
Yeah, if you
Jay's got a lot of them,
if you
hasn't
watch
he?
the first 5 minutes of the film, we tick them off pretty
We
well.
try to get it out of the way, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I lived in Australia when I was 15 for 6 months as an exchange student, so I've tried to replicate a lot of the things that happened to me then, which is just lots of terrifying men in Queensland, really. But there's also drop bears. We've put some drop bears in, so you'll enjoy that. They are very scary, the drop bears. So
what are drop bears?
Buckers. Well, actually, Blake, you
know about drop bears.
Well, you got done, didn't you?
No, Joe did. Joe got very convinced
Joe
that there
got
was...
Tell the story.
He basically didn't get the joke and got done twice about
Tell the
drop
story,
bears.
though.
It's a story that
So James unfortunately was working on this day, so me, Simon and Joe, in classic Inbetweeners fashion, went on a wine tasting tour, and there was a couple of Australians that came with us, and when we went out for a little bit of lunch, they were basically talking about, you got to make sure you watch out for the drop bears. They're these bears, they're about, kind of that kind of size, and they will just drop out of the trees, and they've got such long claws that they just dig into you and just don't let go. And Joe was quite petrified of them.
I was like, okay, man.
But that doesn't sound insane in Australia, though, does it?
No,
where every creature is ready to sort of
worse
just
than that,
beat you up.
fair. So
the drop bears don't exist. It's a myth that they tell British people, but Joe just was very concerned the whole day, by all accounts.
But when Joe was told that, he then went, "Oh yeah, I remember someone telling me that years ago." He'd forgotten that he'd already been told about the drop bears, and then was like really getting anxious over these drop bears again.
Yeah, that is true.
Any more questions?
Cheers, guys. Great show. You said that this one was like The Empire Strikes Back. So do you think there will be a Return of the Jedi equivalent?
Oh, interesting.
No.
This is more like The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi into one.
And also, it's nothing like any of those things as well.
No.
I mean, being serious, we talked about the last film was originally the end point for us, and for mainly down to the fans and the success of the first film, we felt we had to at least try and give another story a crack. But this one really is. I think there's the thing with the Inbetweeners. We always wanted that story to be about a time of your life before you become a full adult, really, where you are an adult, but no one takes you seriously. So you can sort of, there's a certain charm to some of the kind of like horrific things that they say and do during that period, because they're just trying out stuff, they're not really being listened to by anyone. And I think as you grow, once you kind of get beyond that point where you split up from those friends that you made purely through geography, really, I think a lot of the charm will start to ebb away. And, it sounds insane, but we don't want this to be a sort of franchise thing. I think, this film really does, for us, is the end of it. It is kind of the death of the Inbetweeners, so it's quite sad, really.
Yeah, we're all quite sad about it, but I think we're all we like to do bigger and better each time, and I think we've really, as I described earlier, shot out loud on this film. We went out to Australia, and it's epic, basically, for especially for a British film, and I don't think we're going to manage to top that, unfortunately.
Is there a sense as well that there's a point where you don't want to become too old to play these characters, or there's a
so insane?
I'd do it forever. I would do it forever if we could guarantee that we were going to up the ante each time. Unfortunately, there will come a time when
Inbetweeners in space,
it will go down. So you need to cash your chips in.
Yeah, I think a lot of long-running comedy characters, but we sort of found them when they were adults, and so they're sort of like they can exist in probably endlessly. But I think with the part of what it is to be an in-betweener is definitely something to do with that age in your life. That's what we're exploring, and I think that's we've taken it really to the end point of that. So no, we're not doing any more.
But at the same time, everything's a trilogy these days, and you never know. You might get an.
We might do a prequel, and with child actors.
Yeah.
Any more questions? There's a gentleman over here with his hand in the air. Thank you. And then right at the back as well.
Hi guys. Obviously you guys have created some amazing iconic slogans in your time, something to do with buses, for example, which I've shouted to several people on occasions. Now I'm one of them. But in terms of when you're on set, what's the kind of ratio between the improv side of it and how much of that sort of stuff is created while you're there versus how much is scripted?
Ian and Damon spend so long on the scripts, so they're pretty much set in stone by the time we get on set. There was a little bit more improv on this film than there has been on the series or on the first film, but really not much.
I think what's great, also what makes it much more fun for us, and it means that we can concentrate even less, is that Ian and Damon know how we sort of naturally talk so well. Like, when they write lines, I can read them and hear Joe saying them or hear Blake saying them.
It's almost like you don't need to practice them or rehearse
so you just,
them or
learn them in
they're
some
just
cases.
there. It's like a flat pack film ready to sort of, you just need to open it up.
Thank you very much.
I'm just saying everything's done already. Like everything's completely thought out. That you don't have to go. There's never a time when you go, oh, I don't think my character would say that, because these two guys have already done that. They've already thought, they know what the characters would say, and it just means that we can turn up and do the lines and then take the piss out of them in between the...
I would say all the improvisation that goes on set, and it is brilliant, by the way. I mean, they are four of the funniest, people I've ever met, and all of the energy for improvisation goes into coming up with creative ways to undermine our position as directors. So
it's draining.
It is
draining.
There's not a lot left to go in the film.
We're exhausted by the time we come to say our lines.
Yeah,
we are
So
knackered.
But we've been very lucky, I think, as writers first and as directors. It's such a long journey from the page to the screen for any joke, and for so many of the jokes that we write to make it to screen and to be delivered so brilliantly by them, and to be in the past directed so brilliantly by Ben and other people. It's just, that is the dream really for anyone who sets out writing comedy, and we've been really, really lucky.
Do you remember Ben?
Oh, I love Ben.
He was good, wasn't he?
Great director.
Very experienced director.
There was a golden
Beautiful
years.
man.
Yeah.
There was a question right here, right at the very
Ian, you were
back.
going to say you saw him last week. Is that
It's
right?
like basically, I see him regularly. You haven't seen him at all.
If you can just keep your hand up, please, madam.
Is there any parts of the film which really made you cringe?
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
a couple of...
We can't really divulge too many moments, really, because it would ruin the joke for you. But I know what's coming in the film, and even when we watched the screening of it last week, I was watching moments through my fingers because it was that gross or cringeworthy. So if you like cringe, you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits, I think. I thought I was at the stage where I can't really cringe at anything, but there's a bit that Simon does where I was like, he's taking it up a level. He is taking over. If I'm feeling awkward at this moment, then he's doing something very, very special.
Excellent. Yes, please, right here at the very, very back. Thank you.
Well, if this is the end for the Inbetweeners, have you ever given a thought, like J.K. Rowling has done for Harry Potter, and give it a little postscript about how they end up in 20 years' time?
I haven't, but that is a brilliant idea. Yeah, I think we'll... we could do that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We know where that's going. One of them's on drugs.
The funny thing is, we did do before we wrote even a single line of the first script, we spent a week going through those characters and talking about where they'd be in 20 years and where they were now and where they'd been 10 years ago and stuff. So we had a sort of fairly good idea of what was going to happen to all of them. So we could do that. Trouble is, it just wouldn't be very interesting. It'd be like, it's a bit boring. They all just because that was the other thing about the Inbetweeners. I think that we've always tried to put into it is that whatever they say and what they get up to in these days, they're fundamentally nice, good people. Like, they're not going to be in prison. They're not criminals. They're not trying to really destroy people's lives. They're actually fundamentally very nice. And it's just going to that bit where you're testing the boundaries and seeing what you can get away with, I guess. Even Jay.
Any more questions? Yes, please.
Last weekend I went to the pub and I said that I was coming here today, and all my friends started arguing about which member each of the other ones were with the Inbetweeners. I've just left work now and I said where I was coming, and they all started arguing about who was Briefcase, who was Bumdar. It was a real good day. You guys, do you actually feel like not you're going to say that you are like them people, but do you actually think he is actually like him, or do you think you could swap roles?
I think we're not allowed to say that James is like Jay, are we?
No, I wouldn't like to be. I was locked up.
I think it's slightly.
Blake's not as stupid as Neil, obviously. I mean,
I think Blake's exactly the same as Neil.
No, Blake.
We were talking
Blake,
today.
we don't give a script to. He does improvise all of those. Well, he doesn't improvise. We just film him. He doesn't know we're filming him. So
it's like Bowfinger with Blake.
Who did your friends say that you were?
Well, my name is Will, so there was definitely your briefcase.
Good on you.
Okay. I mean, it's slightly unfair for the guys because we wrote the first series before we cast any of them, and we had these characters in mind, and they were pretty strong characters. But the truth is, over the next two series and the last two films, we've kind of written towards their strengths, comedically, and also even when they're mucking about and they do things that they make us laugh, we kind of push towards that a bit. So actually, they end up, just with little ticks and things, seeming a bit more like their characters than they actually probably really are. It's just that we've heard them or seen them do funny things that we liked and put in.
There was an interesting postscript to that question about if you could switch for another role. Which one would you go for?
This is a good question.
Blake, let's start with you.
When we originally auditioned and I was looking at all the roles, it was like a kind of cattle mart audition, and like there was so many actors there, and I saw all the roles on the table, and I was just flicking through them quickly, and I thought, oh well, maybe I could do a Jay. I probably won't be a Will. I definitely won't be Neil. I think I'd be more like Simon, because when I was younger I was quite a hopeless romantic, just embarrassingly bad with women, and then I walk into the room and she sees my gormless face and went, oh Neil. I was like, oh brilliant, I'm not going to get this part, I haven't looked at those lines, and there you go, natural stupidity wins again.
I actually played Neil in the pilot. I was, but I wasn't very good at it.
No, what happened
was...
They
just needed to sex the part up a bit, I
did,
think.
We were talking about recasting after that pilot, because we made some mistakes as producers of that, and when they were talking about the role of Jay, they were, and we kind of were talking about who was going to play Jay, and you'd played Neil, hadn't you, in the pilot? Yeah. We discussed you and I said, after knowing him, now after spending 8 days filming with him, we're morons. He's obviously Jay. He's got to be Jay, hasn't he?
What was great though is that I got a phone call from my then agent saying, I've got some good news and some bad news. Good news is they're going ahead with the Inbetweeners. Bad news is they're recasting. I was like, well, there's no good news there for me. You're fired.
Is your agent Darren Lamb from Extras?
I think, it was pretty much that.
Thomas, who would you play, Buckley?
But no, that's the thing as well. I wouldn't have known about the audition for Jay, because I sent you a message saying, oh, well done, congratulations, gutted, I'm not going to come along for the ride. And then you went, no, we're seeing you next week. Would you mind if you came in and maybe read for the role of Jay? And I went, no, I wouldn't mind at all. I'd love to. I'd just been told I hadn't had a job 5 minutes ago by my actual agent. But it's me, because I've got reached out to you, I've managed to possibly get some more work.
So does that mean you owe Damon 10% of everything you've earned since? Is Damon your...
Yes.
You owe yourself 10%. That's your own commission.
I've made you money. I've made you enough money.
Who else would you play? Who else would you play?
Who else would I play? Who did I say earlier?
You said Neil's dad.
Neil's dad, yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd get like a bald wig.
Alright.
Neil.
Jay?
I don't know, I mean, again, when I was reading for it initially, I think Will and Simon were the two ones that seemed kind of maybe doable to me. I think because they were both sort of posh-ish. I mean, but
I don't think they were, I think...
Not supposed
Simon definitely wasn't.
They're not meant to be, are they? In fact, when we finished doing the first series, it's Damon and, well, they sent us all like a card to say thanks for doing it. I think it was Damon put in my card, thanks so much for playing Simon. We never thought he could be so funny. And then in brackets, also weird. Which probably wasn't really the point of what they wasn't really what they're after. So I think by this point we've kind of moulded so much of our characters. I don't think any of us could play any of the other ones.
Who'd you like to?
I do love Neil. I mean, I think I love his innocence.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, he's got a good heart. I think he's quite kind. Yeah. So yeah.
And I'd go with. I quite like if if I could play Gilbert and Greg Davies could play Will. I think a short Gilbert and a tall Will would be pretty funny.
Pretty good, that.
That would be amazing. I think we've got time for one last question. Yes, please, right here in the front row.
Hi guys. What are your plans now the Inbetweeners has ended for good?
Well, what's really great about the Inbetweeners is that it gives us a lot of time to sort of decide what we want to do next, and none of us ever rush into doing anything unless we really want to do it. And Blake
does a bit.
Yeah, I've got various sitcoms and shows that only ever go for one series. I'm sure they'll, I'll keep getting more of those. But Keeping Rosie is still out at some Picture House cinemas. If you want to go and see me do some kind of psychological
shut up about Keeping
Rosie.
Rosie.
Just stretching my acting muscles, doing something serious. No big deal.
Can
Don't
you
worry
get
about
out
it.
Maxine Peake's arse for 1 minute?
Oh, well, make me, mate.
But yeah, I think.
What are you doing, Joe?
I mean, I suppose a little
we
bit.
like writing, don't we? I
We
think
both,
we've all
I
got
think,
into writing.
yeah, and I think Simon as well. I think we all kind of have ambitions to try and write something of our own. And in a way, Ian and Damon.
Good luck.
Well,
and
then maybe we can
fair
direct it
enough.
one day, and then the cast can mercilessly take the piss out of us until we're on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So yeah, that.
It suits,
I've got the nervous
it sort
breakdown
of
bit
suits
nailed.
me as well because I've got sort of 2 kids at home and stuff, so I can write and I can be at home, and that's what I'm going to spend the next year of my life doing, I think.
Simon?
Indoors during the day.
Indoors at night.
Sunglasses at night.
Yeah, ditto. Really, I've got a few things bubbling under. Don't worry about that.
I'm trying to write an adaptation of a Philip Pullman book. Which won't be. That's basically it. It's a bit like Blake doing his serious acting. I'm really clever and I want to be taken really seriously. But also we're trying to write some other comedy stuff, so which will be much better than that.
I'm planning to become an expert at jet skiing. That's my. I've got to find a lake somewhere in Dorset that allows jet skiing, if anyone knows that. But that's it, yeah. Going to spend my time wisely.
Have you jet skied before?
Just the one time, we went out just before the start of the shoot.
You've been obsessed with it ever since.
I absolutely love it. We went out though, and we took the boys out for a treat because they'd done it before last time they were in Australia.
It's sort of like a little tradition, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was two of the funniest times I've had have been jet skiing. Once in Malia and once in Surfers Paradise. The Malia one, I'd broken my wrist and just come out plaster about a day before, and I was like, I'll be fine in a jet ski. And we got out, and basically I couldn't hold onto the bike on the wave. So whilst everyone was going really fast, and the thing, it was in my eyes, I couldn't wipe my eyes. I couldn't take the other hand off the thing. So I was basically like this.
What was brilliant was that because of the way Ian is, like he's sort of an expert on everything. So it was like, follow me, lads. So he because he was in front, he would then set the speed for the rest of us. And they're called jet skis, but he got to the first wave and crashed into it. And just the wrist has gone, and then we just had to sort of potter about in a circle.
Very slow.
We had to keep sort of like 50 feet away from him. And we're like, God, this is
yeah, so
boring.
the second time we did a jet ski safari in Australia, which you can do for like 3 hours. And the 2 highlights of that were the people that ran it, because you have to do a safety talk beforehand. So the safety talk in Mali was literally a bloke going, that start, that stop, off you go. Safety talk in Australia was 50 minutes?
It was on a DVD.
It was on a DVD, and it was basically him standing next to the DVD, which was him standing next to the same wall saying things.
It was by the way, it was talking about Australian stereotypes. It was the most Australian you could imagine anyone could be, because
he was wearing stubbies
he'd been forced to make a DVD at 45 minutes length because he had to add every time there was an accident, he had to add a new section to his DVD.
The insurance,
and he was skipping through it. He was fast forwarding through those bits and going, those have been
But then
fine.
he sort of goes, I'll tell you this bit, and we're like, well, the bit you're telling us is exactly the same as what's on the DVD. But he'd be like, yeah, so basically what you might think is you see your mate fall off and you think, I'm going to go right up to him and do a big curve and just smash him in the face, but don't do that. And we're like, okay.
Please resist the urge.
Some idiot was there and he caught the wake of a boat and he's just gone in the air and he's up there and he's about sort of 15 foot in the air and he's just hovering there, and you know what you're thinking, I wish I had a camera right now to take a photo of this moment. It looks awesome. We're like, no, that's not what
it. He's like, and he's up in the air and he's going, I wish I had a camera and it looks awesome. And we're like,
Did he die?
Anyway, there's another thing you can't do. We're like, well, that's just like a story about something that.
The only thing we really needed to know was that you had to connect yourself to the ignition. So if you fall off, the ignition comes out and the jet ski doesn't run off. And so at the end of this 2 hours, it was brilliant. Being all around this
the
bay.
day before, the
producer
would phone me and gone, Ian, I don't think you should do it. It's a tradition. We did it in Malia. So
it's insurance.
You shouldn't. It's insurance issues. Don't take the cast out.
It's a tradition. We did it that one
time. And I said, look, I don't care what insurance say. They're going to be fine. We're doing this. We're taking them out. Sorry, go.
No, but that was it. And then we got at the end, because it'd been in a bay, so it was very calm. And then he just took us out into some slightly choppy seas, where just the mouth of the bay where it met the sea, and the sun was setting. And all I saw up ahead was a bit of a kerfuffle as everyone stopped. And Joe had managed to fall off of his jet ski into quite rough water. And the only thing we needed to know was that you had to connect yourself to the safety sort of dead man's key, they call it. He hadn't bothered to do that, so the jet ski just
jet ski's going off. The waves are about 6 foot. He's disappearing.
And it's sort of shark water. This is like shark feeding time.
It was dusk, shark infested water. And then so that was bad. Like, okay, Joe's got back. And then we drive back. And bearing in mind, we were shooting, I think, the next day, and their faces are relatively important for the film. James got head-butted a bee. Yeah, stung by a bee on the head. I was like, I think I might be in trouble now.
Because I was behind Blake. And I thought that maybe like a stone had got into the jet and hit me in the head, but then it carried on stinging for so long. I didn't know what it was, and I sort of worked out that I'd maybe have just, because we were going so fast, I just like head-butted a bee and it just stung me the side of my head and it sort of blew up a bit.
Not recommended.
Not recommended. On that bombshell, that's a great note on which to end. Thank you so much for